everybody doing? Woo! Whoop. We got all y'all in here. This was crazy, but we're so happy and excited, and this is going to be outstanding. Thank you for the support and the love. The week has been tremendous. Every night has been wonderful. This happened in like 2 weeks. This happened in like 2 weeks. It was a phone call. We're doing it. Bryan Stevenson's coming. Michael B. Jordan's coming. Eric Dyson's moderating. It's like, okay, we're gonna make it happen. And I'm so happy and honored that we did. This is dope. It's like it's y'all read the book, right? It's amazing. It really, really is amazing. So we're going to get this show going. You guys know who I am. I'm Stephanie Tavares Rance. This is my husband, Floyd Rance. Yep. 17 years on Martha's Vineyard, Academy Award accredited film festival. Thank you for that. All right, so we're going to start the show. So without further ado, how do you introduce Michael Eric Dyson? Like, first of all, he talks
Detroit.
In like, that's it.
Is Detroit here?
Exactly.
The right. D. What up, though?
Oh, there he is.
What up, though?
What up, though?
What up, though?
Michael Eric Dyson, everybody.
Thank you all so very much. Y'all ready? I know y'all ready. And we got it for you, too. An extraordinary film. I got a chance to see this film the other day, and I'm going to tell you, when you go to the theaters to see this, you are in for a treat. So without further ado, let me bring out the extraordinary people on this panel. First of all, Niija Kuykendall, who is EVP of publicity for Warner Brothers. Let's bring her out, Niija Kuykendall. The man about whom this film has been dedicated to, and his life story is an extraordinary one that this film brilliantly probes. The great attorney, Reverend Dr. Professor Bryan Stevenson. Now, this next man I'm bringing out is a remarkable young man. I've known him for several years. He's often my body double when I cannot make it. Yo. Dang, no, man, I'm just trying to do me. If the record's 2 mil, I'm just trying to move 3. So, an extraordinary thespian, a remarkable producer, a visionary, an actor at the height of his power, and he's still developing, a man who understands the necessity of using film as a vehicle for narrative to tell our stories and to represent them so brilliantly and beautifully, the great Michael B. Jordan. The body double, you know. Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, you know, we're just doing our thing. I do want to say to Bryan, good choice in getting this brother to play your story, right? I guess Drake will have to play mine. Look, let's get right to it. A remarkable, remarkable film in so many ways. And we know about the extraordinary passions of your life that have motivated you, Bryan Stevenson, to really speak up for those whose backs are against the wall, those who are the forgotten, and relegated to the periphery of our society. So we celebrate you for the heroism that you have exhibited all these years and the devotion without thanks that for so many years you put forth. We just want to begin by acknowledging what you have done. And let me kick it off with Brother Jordan. You know, there are so many stories to be told, and I must confess, to see an intellectual and an activist be the subject of a film is so remarkable and beautiful. But tell us what it is that drew you to this story. It's something that you wanted to tell. And by the way, when you see it, he plays it with aplomb and dignity and the requisite amount of skill to suppress his own ego to inhabit who Bryan Stevenson is. Tell us why you were drawn to that and why it's important to tell that story cinematically.
I think for me, when I first heard about Bryan's story, I was a little embarrassed that I didn't know that much about him.
Right.
I had a chance to, listen and watch his TED Talk and to hear him speak and to understand that he dedicated his life to this cause, and the fact that I didn't really know that much about him, I took that personally,
right.
But once I had a chance to really do, my due diligence, and I got a chance to read his book and listen to his interviews, I felt like it was my responsibility to play that role, to kind of like shine a light on the story, to kind of get it out there to the masses as best I could. Right. He's an extremely busy guy, ripping and running, traveling, always constantly working, constantly in the court or in the office. And, for us to kind of link our schedules up to try to spend as much time with him as I could to kind of get at the essence of who he was. Right. Not trying to imitate him, that's not what I was trying to do. I was just trying to get the essence of who he was, his spirit, his presence, what he brings to the table, and his optimism, which I think is really, really key to who Bryan is. And those are some of the things that drew me to the role, and obviously with Destin Cretton and the cast like Jamie Foxx and Brie Larson, I knew I was going to be surrounded by people that were equally as invested in this story for the performance, and also for what it meant in our culture and our community, you know what I'm saying? So it was a multi-layered kind of project that kind of brought me, kind of like full circle.
No, that's beautiful. And Brother Bryan, when you think about, the reach you have through your perennial bestseller, Just Mercy, and the millions of lives that you've managed to change, but cinema's a different story, right? It's a different way of delivering that story, and I know you know that already. So tell us about why it's gratifying to you and why it's important that that story, already on the page, now gets its debut on the silver screen.
Well, I appreciate that. I do think that we have to find ways to get to more people with the truths that many of us know and understand and see, but most people don't see. In 2001, when the Bureau of Justice announced that for the first time in our history, if trends continued, 1 in 3 black male babies is going to go to jail or prison. When that announcement was made and nobody really said anything or did anything, I began to worry about how my time in the courts, my time in these spaces wasn't really having the impact broadly that it needs to have. And about 10 years ago, I began worrying that we were in a political climate where we couldn't win Brown versus Board of Education if it went to the US Supreme Court today. I'm a product of Brown.
Right.
I grew up in a community where black kids couldn't go to public schools. I wouldn't be here if lawyers couldn't come in and make the majority of people in that community do something that they didn't want to do and let black kids like me come in. But when I think about our court now, I don't think they have the commitment to do anything that disruptive on behalf of a disfavored group. And it realized that we just have to start talking to more people about norms and values and the truths that have created so much inequality and oppression. That's what motivated me to write the book, and I was really pleased that people responded to that. And when the opportunity to tell the story in an even broader format emerged, I wanted to take it on. I was really nervous, very, very apprehensive, because sometimes, these stories get compromised, and what you're trying to teach doesn't get taught. And that's why I was so grateful when Michael agreed to be a part of it, because I knew he had the kind of integrity and the kind of commitment. We were aligned in wanting to do something that was truth-telling. And to now see it on the screen, I just have to say it's been incredibly affirming. He makes an amazing performance. I was so honored to see him The thing I was worried about, I can't characterize how I go through the world, but I try to be sincere. I really believe in the clients that I represent. I care about them. I want to fight for them with everything I have. And I think he does an amazing job of bringing that to the role, which was so gratifying and so affirming. And now we're just excited for the world to see. We've got to get people in this country to wake up that mass incarceration will destroy this nation.
That's right.
It will destroy this nation.
Right. Amen. And let me say again that the performance of Brother Jordan is exquisite. And I was talking to him in the back, and we were talking about his performance and Jamie Foxx's performance. And it's like Coltrane and Miles.
Yeah.
Right? They're just trading stuff. They're just trading lyrics. They're just spitting cadences, you know. It's the 8th anniversary of Watch the Throne. It's like Jay and Kanye. Okay, so Michael B. Jordan said, "Who Kanye?" All right.
I ain't messing with you, man.
But really, it is an extraordinary performance because you inhabit him, and like you said, it's not emulation, it's not imitation, it's really a kind of embodiment, and that's the kind of beautiful message that is communicated. Sister Kuykendall, you think of all the movies you've made, you know, your studio's made extraordinarily successful movies about a broad variety of things, but to really put your resources behind this says a lot about, A, what your company is serious about, but B, you know, why it's important to theatrically probe some of these themes. We see the circling political climate of our times, and we know how devastating it is. Mr. Stevenson has already indicated, you know, the plight and predicament of young black kids. So tell us why it's important for you and for your outfit to kind of get behind a film like this.
I think, you know, first of all, I want to start with just noting that this is one of the first films that when we had the opportunity to get involved with the film, it was already in screenplay form. And my job is to advocate and to really campaign and get movies made, help put them together, get the movie made, oversee it. Usually I have to campaign. Usually I have to like really work it. There's usually debate. There's usually people who don't love the movie. There's usually people who love the movie. There's all sorts of things that I have to kind of navigate to get it done. This was the first time in my career where I felt like I didn't really have to do that. Everybody got behind it immediately. I think because of what's going on in the country right now, I think a lot of different things are happening in terms of timing, in terms of the way the audience is changing, in terms of the way that our business is changing, which Michael is a part of, you know. So a lot of kind of things came together so that when this came into our doors, everybody was passionate about it. Everybody felt really, when it felt like we were actually gonna do it, everybody felt really honored to be a part of it. I mean, these guys can tell, we just had this huge marketing meeting 2 weeks ago, and literally the marketing team, at the very beginning, they were like fighting to kind of figure out who was gonna be on the team, right? Because every single person at the studio feels honored to be a part of telling the story. I think it's important because I think theatrical release, worldwide, a Warner Brothers worldwide theatrical release of a movie just gives you a platform that is, if used correctly, one of the most impactful things. I mean, film and television shifts culture. It comes into your home, it changes the way you feel, it brings things into your home that are really foreign to you, and it starts to become a part of your regular life. And so, if we can do that, if we can allow that just another level, I mean, Bryan is doing very well on his own in terms of platform and you know, giving his message and doing his work, but if we could just be a part of giving even more of a platform to you and your work, I think our whole studio would be very proud of that.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. Before we want to see one clip, but before we go to that, you know, you're faithful to the book, but it's not a documentary. It's a film. And so you make choices, and I think a brilliant choice, as in the book, but you have a through line, you have a narrative through line. You got to follow one particular person to kind of get people to draw them in. And, you know, Johnny D's story, Mr. McMillian's story, is a compelling one, the character played by Jamie Foxx. So tell us, you know, theatrically and cinematically why that's important to have somebody you can empathize with, that you can understand, playing off against your already extraordinary character embodying Brother Stevenson there.
I think it was important to have somebody be able to really embody who Walter McMillian was. You know, acting in a scene is like, you know, tennis. You know what I'm saying? You know, you got to volley back and forth. You know what I'm saying? You got to get in that rhythm. You got to listen. You know, and Jamie's one of the best listeners in the game. You know, I've always looked up to him. You know, and he's extremely talented, and he kind of. I wanted this one to be the project for him that reminded people how great he was. You know what I'm saying? I think people forgot, you know, and I think this is the perfect opportunity for him to kind of come in, you know, become somebody else and really bring it, you know, every take, and that's exactly what he did. I was honored to kind of, you know, sit across from him, you know, in those scenes and learn. You know, I learned a lot. You know, he's been doing it a lot longer than I have, so just to be able to learn was a big deal. And yeah, he was a huge asset, man. He was awesome.
All right, that humility, that's why this young man is great. What are you, 32 years old?
32, yeah, 32. Yeah, 32.
That brilliant, that gifted, and that gorgeous. Right? Let's say that. All right, let's hit this first scene here. And this is when Attorney Stevenson is meeting for the first time with the family of Mr. Walter McMillian. Let's hit it.